Blessings in the name of the Lord Jesus. Welcome to Paraclet TV, making disciples through the power of the Holy Spirit. We will now discuss in this video the different essentials of a portfolio. So you will be learning the different elements that can be included when you are preparing a portfolio. And let us start by sharing with you the different types of portfolio. The first type of portfolio is called a showcase portfolio. And what is the showcase portfolio? It is a portfolio that showcases the best work of the learner. When he is given to make an essay, the best essay, he can show this include in this portfolio, or when he is asked to make a creation, something that is to be written, such as composition of a song or composition of a poem, he can include this in this portfolio. And in the preparation of the showcase portfolio, the teacher must provide the criteria of what will be the elements that can be included in a showcase portfolio. And the criteria, of course, will be the basis of selecting of the different elements of the portfolio. Students have the freedom to select and do the reflection of the inclusion in this portfolio. So based from the criteria that is set by the instructor or by the teacher, the learner will now have a freedom to choose which of his accomplishments can be included, which he thinks is best, and which he thinks is suiting in the different criteria that is set by the teacher. And this showcase portfolio can also be called a celebration portfolio, for it is very appropriate. Use his own judgment which of his accomplishments or which of his creation or composition can be included in this portfolio. The second type of portfolio is called documentation portfolio. And this documentation portfolio displays changes in accomplishment related to academic performance. So the changes that take place in the student's level of performance must be included in the portfolio. Say, for example, the development of his thinking ability when he is given, say, for example, a story to analyze. And this portfolio purports to display changes in accomplishment related to academic performance. The assembled work sample is to provide evidence about the student's growth, which also provides meaningful opportunities for self-evaluation of students. So say, for example, the student is asked to make an essay. His first essay can be a part of the documentation portfolio, then the comparison to the second essay until he will have a very good grade in making an essay can also be a part of the documentation portfolio. A documentation portfolio is also called a scrapbook of information. It is a scrapbook of information. This may include observations, checklists, and rating scales and selections by both the teachers and the students. So we will find that in the preparation of documentation portfolio, there must be a collaboration between the teacher and of course the learners, which of the following accomplishment of the students can be included in a portfolio. There must also have an interactive assessment between the teacher and the students so that it will provide an opportunity to communicate the strengths and needed improvements, which also clarifies the accomplishment of students through student and teacher conferences. So a documentation portfolio is a very good portfolio for establishing and looking at the growth or the rate of growth of the students in terms of a certain competency. Say for example, a math teacher asks the students to compute a certain equation, and the first, the second, and the third equation, a growth or a changes in the scores, and of course we're expecting that the scores will be increasing, so that will be a basis or a proof that there is a growth in the students learning or in that competency in the computation of a certain equation. Next, we have the third type of portfolio, which is called process portfolio. So in this portfolio, the process is centered in the making of this portfolio. It shows the steps or the results of a completed projects or tasks. This is very useful because the final product does not always show the skills and knowledge that the student used in an effort to complete the project. So in a process portfolio, it is very clear that the students will show the different steps, the different mechanics that the teacher has already laid for him to finish a certain product. But the focus here is not the final product, but how does a student finish a certain product. By asking students to provide evidence of their work along the way, teachers can see both strengths and weaknesses in the thinking process and the skills student use. So there are many times that a certain competency is learned by the students by following the different steps or the different procedures. Say for example, for cake making, there are steps to follow, and when these steps are being followed by the students, we call that as a process, and this must be an inclusion to the said portfolio. A picture of how the students will mix the different ingredients, how the students will choose the best ingredients and its quality can also be a part of the process portfolio until the finished product is also shown in this portfolio. Next type of portfolio, we have the so-called product portfolio, and this product portfolio is similar to the process portfolio except that its focus is on the end product rather than on the process in which the product was developed. So the finished product will be the center of the product portfolio. Say for example, if the teacher has already assigned the students of a compilation of a journal, so that can be a part, the final product can be a part of this portfolio. An essay can also be a part of this portfolio. There is little or no information about the steps that was used in crafting the product. On the other hand, this type of portfolio contains the final product as well as the detailed explanation of each part of the final product. So we can find that there are compositions of the students, evidence of that performance can be a part of the product portfolio. And then the last type of portfolio is called standard-based portfolio, and this standard-based portfolio collects evidence that link students' achievement of particular learning standards. So the different skills and the different competencies will be the basis of choosing which can be included in the portfolio. It focuses on the specific standards that are predetermined by the teacher. So the teacher himself will be the one to ask the students what are the things that they must include in a standard-based portfolio based on the different standards that the teacher will lay down for the students to follow. Students will gather evidence of accomplishment for each of the standards and present these outputs cluster that relate to the standards given. Say for example, the teacher will ask the students to show 3 quizzes or 2 essays, something like that, or even if there is a journal that that were asked by the students, or any book review, or students to collect 3 summaries of the literature that they have studied, or 2 poems that they have recited. So this will be the standard that the teacher will really place as a requirement for the students to comply with in the standard-based portfolio. So there are also those are the 5 types of portfolio, and these are the showcase portfolio. We have the documentation portfolio, we have the process portfolio, then you have the product portfolio, and the last one we have the standard-based portfolio. Now, I will also be giving you some samples of the portfolio, or the elements that can be included in a portfolio. And these examples can satisfy which one of the types of portfolio. Now, say for example, in science subject, you can place in your portfolio the best solution to a scientific problem, which was given by the teacher. Then a review of a scientific article, which of course is related to the topic that was discussed by the teacher. Then the original hypothesis that the student has formulated can be a part of this science portfolio. A position paper, when there is of course a debate between 2 important theories, then your position about which of the theory is better, so your position can be a part of this portfolio. Then of course you can have a log notes or journal assignment, which can be a place in this science portfolio. You know, the journal is a very good example of an element that can be included in a portfolio, because the journal is a reflection of what you have understood, what you have learned from a certain development of a lesson. Then in mathematics, you can have the best solution to a problem. Say for example, an equation or a problem to solve using the multiplication of integers, something like that. Then a description of how to solve mathematical problem. If there are procedures that or steps that the teacher has already laid down how to solve a mathematical problem, then when the student followed that religiously, that can be a part of an element in a mathematics portfolio. A review of mathematics article. So there are many journals. Say for example, a research journal in mathematics that can be reviewed by the student, and the output or his synthesis or analysis of that article can be a part of this mathematics portfolio. A biography of mathematician can also be a part. The picture of the mathematician, the profile of the mathematician, as well as his contribution to the world of mathematics. Then of course, the origin of mathematical theory. And when a mathematical theory is included by the student in a portfolio, he has of course to state what is the theory and who is the theorist, and then he has to make his own explanation of what is the meaning of that mathematical theory. Then the student has also developed a diagram or a concept to express the mathematical ideas in a very concise form so that it will be understood by others. So these are the very good elements that can be included in a mathematics portfolio. Then in a language arts, you can include best composition in a variety of styles. Say for example, an expository literature or an expository writing. Then you can also include creative ideas such as in poetry, drama, short story, especially if the students has composed a short story. That is a very good element of a language art portfolio. Then a journalistic reporting. Say for example, the student has made a news item or an editorial or even a sports news. He can include that in a portfolio. A columnist, a reviewer, or an advertising copy. So these are the things that can be included not only in science, in mathematics, but of course in language arts. Now, in other subjects or other courses in college, you can make use or choose the best elements based from these examples, but you have to satisfy what type of portfolio that teacher is asking you to prepare. Now, there are also essential elements of a portfolio. So, the general elements of a portfolio are the following. You must have a cover letter because the cover letter summarizes the evidence of a student's learning and progress. So, the student must have to write a letter, or it can also be an introduction of what will be the things that the teacher or that the other students will see from the portfolio that you have prepared. Then after the cover letter that serves as the introduction of what are the things that will be found in looking at the portfolio, the next essential element can be the table of contents. Now, in the table of contents, you have to place the title and of course the number where that item can be found. So each page in a portfolio must have a page number so that whenever there is a student looking at what will be the inclusion in a certain portfolio, they can make your portfolio as a template or as a pattern to follow. And the table of contents can facilitate a certain learner which to find which will really serve him in his own portfolio. Next element will be an important element in the portfolio are of course the work samples. These are the core elements of the portfolio, the required as well as the optional. The required are those that the students have placed as standards or as the elements of the portfolio because the student can make it easily if there is a requirement or the things that must be included as enumerated by the teacher. But of course, we are giving our students a freedom which is optional for the students so that his own evaluation, his own creativity and originality can be challenged by giving him the freedom to choose which of his accomplishments can be included in the portfolio. Now, in the work sample, be sure that the most remarkable or the best thing or the best accomplishment must be included in the portfolio, because if the portfolio is asked from the students, say for example per term or per quarter for an elementary or a secondary school, so there are many accomplishments. Say for example, there are many written outputs, there are many quizzes, there are many problems that are solved, and say for example theories or drawings that the students have made for the entire quarter. So in the work sample, the collaboration of the teacher as well as of the students is needed so that the best feature or the best element can be chosen, and that will serve as the elements of the portfolio. For each item, a brief rationale for choosing the item should be included. This can relate to students' performance, their feelings regarding the progress, or themselves as learners. So it is very important to note why the students have chosen a certain element of the portfolio so that the teacher as well as the other learners will be guided why they chose a certain element of the portfolio. The date of entries to facilitate proof of the growth over time can also be a part of the portfolio. So it is very good that in uh, every every accomplishment or every output that the teacher is requiring the student has to place the date and of course the subject or the course, so that when he is going to choose an element, it will be reflected, the date is reflected, so that the growth can easily be detected by means of the date. Then the drafts of oral and written products and revised versions. So in case that there are outputs that the teacher has required from the students, and that output is needed to be revised. So these two, the original and the revised, must be placed in a portfolio so that it will showcase a very clear growth of the competency that is required of the students. So this is a very good inclusion to the portfolio. And of course, the most important aspect in the portfolio that learners should include will be the reflection. And when the student is doing a reflection, the following questions can be the guide. First, what did I learn from it? So in the making of reflection, the student must answer what is his learning from the element that he has posted from the portfolio. Second, what did I do well in this element? Say for example, in an essay, if he is very good in formulating the conclusion, he must share how he did the conclusion, or in the making of an introduction, if he is good in it, he is to share his secret. Why did I choose this item? So that can also be a very good question to answer in the reflection. Next, what do I want to improve in this item? So now the student is giving a chance to really gauge and evaluate himself, what to improve in the next level or in the next semester, in the next quarter, because based from the element that he has included in the portfolio, this can serve as a self-evaluation for him and do some intervention for the next session or the next schedule that he will be asked of the same inclusion. How do I feel about my performance? What were the problem areas? So these are the questions that the students must answer to have a very good reflection of the portfolio. So these are now the different essentials of portfolio.
Share Jesus.
Subscribe and
Subscribe and
share
share
Harapet
Harapet
TV.
TV. Go, go, go.